So for the last month, he went from almost zero to 13,000 followers, probably more by the time I post this video, but yet he hadn't made any sales. So today I'm going to share with you how I helped Marcel, who's a business coach, sell an $8,000 coaching offer within 4 days of our first meeting just by making a tiny little tweak in his business, and how you can actually apply this to your own consulting business. And a few things that you should note before we actually get into this is, first off, he was actually already getting traction on TikTok. So recently his TikTok just started growing like crazy. I'll put some of the metrics up on the screen. He was getting a ton of attention. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it was high quality attention. In fact, he was getting a lot of people who were really unqualified, people who were applying to his free school group, people who were trying to set up calls with him, who just like weren't his ideal client. And so there's a reason why this was happening. You know, he's getting a lot of views on his TikTok. He's getting a lot of views on his videos. He's getting a lot of followers, a lot of comments, a lot of engagement. But the reality of it is this: if the algorithm is picking up the video super heavy, you're getting a ton of traffic, it's really, really blowing up, it means you're probably making like mass market kind of content. Oftentimes, mass market kind of content is going to the mass market. And what does the mass market typically not have? Money. It doesn't typically have a strong business. If it appeals to a lot of people, it's usually not going to appeal to the specific niche of a person that you want to speak to. Now, will they see it? Potentially so, yes, but it won't be speaking very specifically to anyone. And so that was really the issue. I had a conversation with him about it because he was extremely, extremely excited about it. He never had any kind of like growth within his social medias before. So he's showing me this. He's showing me all these results he's getting. He's like, look how many comments I'm getting. Look how many applications I'm getting. And I just asked him, so what's the quality like? You know, are these people qualified? And he was like, some are. And so he told me that he was turning away about 80% of the applications that were coming in. And so he was basically planning on building his business off of this by scaling it up. He was like, okay, cool. So I just need to make more TikToks. I'm just going to get more views. And so that I'll just live off of that 20% people who come in who might be a decent fit. So for the last month, he went from almost zero to 13,000 followers, probably more by the time I post this video, but yet he hadn't made any sales. Well, when we had a conversation, we were able to fix this very quickly and able to generate his first sale within 4 days. So let's talk about what we did in order to change what he was doing to get some results and actually get sales in the door. Because at the end of the day, that's the only thing that really matters. So the first thing we did was, very simply, we clarified the messaging. We are speaking to his ideal clients. So we had to get more clear on who his ideal client actually is. So that was a big part of our conversation. And so what we found is that his ideal client is typically brick and mortar businesses who have around 20 staff, and they are just absolutely overwhelmed. Their business is a complete mess. Their overhead's super high. They're basically not profiting anything, and they're honestly considering selling their business. And he told me that a lot of these people think they want to sell their business just because they really don't like their business. Everything is falling apart. It's just a huge mess. And I'm sure if you've ever been there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But these are the kind of people that he typically works with, because he has a background in finance and he has all this really technical knowledge of how to organize business. These are the kind of people who see the best results for him. And so getting really clear on understanding who you're speaking to pretty much fixes all these problems from before. So that was the first thing that we did, was get more specific on who are we actually speaking to. So that way we can craft all the messaging, all the content that we're creating, the copy that's being written, pretty much everything. I mean, we're talking profile optimization. The entire business is becoming optimized by starting to speak to one person. Now, I have an entire video where I speak more about this topic, about simplifying down your business. I'll put a link in the description if you want to learn more about clarifying your messaging, and I can give you actually some actionable steps you can take. But let's talk about the second thing that we did in order to make this happen. So the next thing we did was actually speaking more about the outcomes within the marketing messaging. Like, what is actually going to happen when you work with him? Because he was really, really set on sharing about the mechanism and talking about, oh, we're going to do this many Zoom calls and I'm going to build you a spreadsheet, and just like really, really technical, like analytical stuff. And I think I even struggle with this at times. But when we had this conversation, like very quickly, we were able to realize, like, oh, you know, people don't care about that. In fact, it almost doesn't matter how you get them there. They want the result. And so obviously we still need to explain the mechanism. We need people to understand how the hell they're going to get there. But much more of the focus has to be on actually getting there and what happens. So we're talking about, the result that happens. We're talking about how organizing their business buys them back time so they have more time for their family. By organizing their business so they're actually starting to see a profit and they can start investing their money or finally go on a vacation that they've always wanted to go on. Whatever that may be, that's the actual outcome. So moving the messaging away from mechanism and super broad focus, how to help anyone organize their business. It's who's this for? How do we help them? And what outcome do they receive? So those are kind of the pillars that were created, or essentially the path that was created here. And the next part being creating this extra pillar of sharing stories, like actually showing tangible outcomes from past clients, things that he's done with them. Okay, so we ran them through our system, and then this person was able to do X, Y, and Z, and showing them stories and outcomes of other people who are just like them, getting the result that they want, like sharing that. Again, this stuff is actually very simple when I explain it. This may not seem like very profound to you. You might be like, yeah, no shit. But by doing this, it led to sales almost instantly. So let's talk about the result here. So I'm just going to pull up the text that he sent me, and I'll share it on screen so you can see it. But I basically just said, hey, so what changes have you made to your content since we last spoke? And he said, okay, so basically about making the videos for my ideal clients and actually really calling them out. And he said, FYI, I just made an $8,000 upfront sale off of TikTok. It's working. And then so I asked him, like, what was the video that, got the sale? What was the one that got the lead and everything? And he said, so I created a pricing for profit video. And so it was very directed at this specific type of business owner. He said she reached out, got on a Zoom, and just paid in full, booked right then and there. And so that was the result of just shifting that marketing messaging, because there already was traffic. Like there was people who were already coming in who were interested in working with him, but shifting it to really make it clear as to who it was for. That made him a sale almost instantly just from having that conversation. He started making new content because of it. And when he made this video, he was explaining to me, it wasn't just about making a pricing for profit video. It was what pricing for profit actually does inside your business. Again, the outcome, right? So that's what happened. He was able to make $8,000 upfront right away after having this conversation and changing this and making this tweak. So I'm sharing this with you for free so you can hopefully do the exact same thing in your business. Now, he was already making content consistently. He'd already found his own unique style. He'd already found things that were working for him. And so he only needed a little bit of a tweak. And so it depends on what you have going right now, but this will help you no matter what stage that you're at. So let me know if you have any other questions. And again, if you want to learn more about clarifying your messaging, I made an entire video about this with actionable steps that you can actually apply like today to start moving forward on this. I'll put the link in the description for that. Now, if you want to work with me directly to help you clarify your marketing messaging, help you build this internal organic content system so you can start generating leads consistently, so you don't have to rely on ads, you can actually start owning your traffic. If you're interested in talking more about that, then go ahead and book a call with me, link below. Other than that, feel free to subscribe, leave me any comments, let me know if you have any questions. I'll see you in the next video.